we're on this. Brent, can you hear us?
I am now able to hear you guys.
There he
Please,
is.
please tell me we've got Pickett here, correct?
We have Pickett
Right here.
here.
Ah,
Welcome
I
to the
see it.
show.
All right, I see him. I'm coming on right now.
right.
I am going back to the first
There he
original way
is.
that I ever met Nick Pickett.
There we go.
And there's the Southeast
Nice.
Oh
sweatshirt,
boy.
courtcy
Good
of
one.
Jeff Thomas,
Yeah, for
which goes
sure.
back, like 99, 2001. 2001.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Wow.
Yeah, I met in 2002 when I got over there.
Okay, so the next
But I knew those guys from before, just from being a coach. And when you're a coach, you drink with other coaches. So,
yes.
When
you're a player
Naturally.
who is 21 and not, and doesn't have to worry about any kind of college testing, that's all you do too. Did it for 19 years.
Perfect. Exactly.
Whatever you guys were talking about, I'm happy just to listen for a while.
We lost Schiffman. He was having the
Again.
same difficulties as last week, so he actually fell off probably about 5 seconds before you jumped on.
Perfect.
We hadn't really gotten into anything yet. We were just talking a little bit of shop with District 186 and kind of what was going on there with the new stadium and all that fun stuff. Brent is now a big SHG fan. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I mean, my son plays tennis there. He played basketball for a while.
Okay.
I'm the one who married his 5'0" mother. And so, when we were at Little Flower, we started for a couple years to give Christ the King a run, but he topped out at about 5'7", playing a back to the basket 4-man. And then for two state championship teams, that was about the end of that. Good tennis player and great in the theater, but that hurt a little.
Involved in getting to compete a little bit somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. So, Dom, I don't know if you know this. This was probably before you had anything to do with football, but this is where I know Nick. And I will tell you that at a point in the very early 2000s, Southeast put together a coaching staff that was amazing. I mean, that year where you guys when Brent Ashbaugh was there and put together Nick and Grossen and Eric Crouch and Jeff Thomas and Neil Taylor and had former Illini Brian Hodges, former tight end for a bit, had former Illini Brian Williams from the late 80s, who was a lineman from California that Mike White went and got, and played for Makovic for a while. They had something going. I mean, they really had something going. They were keeping kids eligible. They gave SHG a heart attack with it.
We Tony Webster, I don't know if you're familiar with that name. He's still coaching around the city. Ted Harrison, Robert Banks Sr. You guys know Robert Banks Jr.
Yeah.
Robert Banks Sr. was on that staff too. It was a lot of fun too. You know what I mean? Just a bunch of good dudes, and the kids were, a lot of fun to be around.
Many of those kids play with the Seminoles?
Quentin Womack ended up playing quarterback for us. In 2009, we had Chris Lee Franklin.
Yeah.
And they played on defense.
Okay.
Is that where the Outlaws got Bishop originally, right? I mean, when Damien, he was close to that era. Yeah, I mean, that's right.
Right in there. I'd have to look at the rosters really to remember it all. After 20 years, it kind of runs. You know what I mean?
Right.
There were a handful. I've had good fortune in having guys play for me in high school and then come on and join us in semi-pro down the road. And you have those relationships already with them, so it makes it really easy to do. And they're a good group to be around.
Had one of the best pure athletes that I ever saw play football. Second, maybe only the one, but when you guys had Frank Iguodala out there, plays college basketball on a NCAA tournament bound and won a game, Dayton team.
Dayton Flyers.
And he was great. We had him out there at safety at like 6'5". It was great.
I wasn't on that staff actually. That was before.
You missed that one. Okay.
Yeah, I missed that one.
Andre related to Andre? I'm assuming
brother. It's his brother.
I was say it had to have been, right?
Yeah, their family. And when I was at Lanfair, we were trying to get him out, but he made the right choice. He declined, but he made the right choice.
Hard to argue that one.
And actually, we were trying. I don't know if you guys remember Adamola Adniji. He was a soccer player, and we couldn't get him to come out for nothing until finally I think he might have been a senior. He said, "What the hell? I'll go do it." He ends up going and playing at Eastern, for 4 years as a running back. So
he was a stud.
Yeah, you guys said
he played for us for a little bit.
You guys had some dudes. I mean, I remember you had a run there at Lanphier, like Mola, and then you had like Nico Scott, and you had like just 1,000-yard rushers coming out of the woodworks.
You're digging back into my playing days. There we had John Day, Andre Williams,
Yeah.
Deontay Etris, Charles Helms. I mean, you just every year there was just two more, and then two graduating, two more would come up, and those are the hard-nosed football days. It's different now.
Mm.
You know?
Oh yeah, that was when everyone used a fullback and a tight end, and just toss right, toss left, and let's go, baby.
So I my senior year, I was 16 years old. I was 5'8", whatever. You know, I was probably 145 pounds, 165. You know, in the program. You know?
Naturally.
The only way I was getting
it's the pro wrestling height and weight, right? From parts unknown.
Yeah. I mean, and now I'm 165 again, but you know, it's for a different reason. So the only way I got on the field was because I could block as a receiver. You know, I wasn't beating plays down the field. You know what I mean? I wasn't making big plays, but we ran the ball so much then that you had to be able to block downfield. So,
well, you do something nobody else wants to do, Nick, and get good at it. You're going to see the field.
Which is
not selfish.
Really remarkable that you say that, because I played quarterback for you for several years, and I don't remember any of our wide receivers blocking downfield besides Jamie. Jamie Ford was it, and everybody else
blocked a little bit.
Yeah, Jamie blocked, but I don't know that Tony Carey ever threw a block.
Tony will probably tell you he never threw a block.
Yeah.
He'll admit to that.
I brought that up to him recently. He works with me at Landfair now. Tony does.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so I brought it up to him, just kind of talking old times for a couple minutes in passing. He made a reference to, that wasn't his job, kind of a deal. And Carlos Perry, they'd run a little fake screen route or something, and that did enough for us, I guess.
Yeah. Just get the guy out of the way, and that's all that takes.
And I catch touchdowns. That's all I do is catch touchdowns.
Yeah, that's all I do.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've been listening to the show, and Dom referencing before Tony Carey ran the called route about half the time is right.
Seemed to work.
Take a step.
Seemed to work pretty well.
And as a coach, you want to get pissed off about it, right? It's like, God dang it, I called this play. We got to run this play, but then he'd catch it and get 8 yards. Like, well, okay. I mean, we're advancing the ball. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, right. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, if you make it's one of those things where, as a coach, you're like, damn it, and then you look and you're like, it's all right, whatever. I'll save my ass chewing for another time.
Exactly, for when it doesn't work.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
it wasn't very often though. I mean,
No,
that's the problem. I mean, when you got athletes, you got studs, you got people who know the game. It's crazy how shit works out for you, right? I mean, it just does. And again, we talked about it 4 episodes ago. Dom had that connection with his guys early, man. It was crazy. It was crazy. Jamie Ford went from wanting to murder him on a sideline to being on this, like they had a mind meld that was amazing. So I don't know.
The Farmington
days the same way though. Tony Carey and him, I don't know how many times they got to fight on the sideline. I'm open. You're not throwing me the ball. Stop looking. I don't know if you guys know Tony very well, but that's classic Tony right there. And Carlos Perry, he quit 5 times.
Yeah, a game.
Literally a game. Taking his pads off. He'll be back next week.
It was a lot of personalities to manage. And Brent, you talked about it a couple weeks ago, but I would always be like, guys, there's one ball. Like, what do you want me to do with it? And but they're competitive But yeah, Tony's had 2 jobs. It was to catch passes and bark at me. He was constantly barking at me on the sideline, or pre-snap, or he'd give me looks and stuff like like winking and stuff before the snap, like I'm supposed to know what he's trying to tell me.
Look for the bright yellow shoes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Our receivers.
It was fun.
Go ahead, Tony.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say our receivers never did that to Dan because Tony beat him to it every single fucking time.
Dude. I told you I found that hard drive and I was watching some of the games. If we didn't score a touchdown, I was slamming my helmet on the ground, screaming "motherfucker" just about every single drive. I don't, as a coach looking back on it, I would have hated me.
Competitive.
It couldn't have been much fun.
That's the difference.
It's just like I was.
Tony, you work with younger people now, so it's different.
I know it's true. That's
it. The challenge is X's and O's are part of it, right? But the other part is you've got grown men who you need to keep up because you don't know who's showing up next week. So you got to keep them around and you got to keep them all happy. And it's like, it's really hard to do.
Mm.
Oh yeah. Oh, no doubt. It's funny. It's funny looking back on it, like after the fact too, because it is like, we've talked about this a bunch, just how different we all were back then as compared to now, and watching it and like, even like Brent, who we joke was, he was always 38 years old, even when he was 29 years old. He was just the way we look at the game now. It's so different. But man, it was such a fun time. I mean, it was, and I think you were one of the ones, Nick. You never let it get too big. Like we've talked about it before, where it got too big not too big, but it just became more than what it needed to be. I was looking at some pictures on that drive, and there's one, the 2009 game, which we've talked about a bunch, and all the Seminoles are coming out, everyone's walking out, and there's a picture of you, Nick, and you look like you're going to a barbecue. Like you just got like khaki shorts on and just a t-shirt, like no, not a Seminoles shirt, just a shirt and like a hat, and it's just like, oh, they're just going to have some fun, do some football. But that seemed to be kind of like what you were. I mean, that seemed your style as a coach, if I'm not wrong.
No, Don would tell you before I could. I mean, I'm in my own head, so.
Yeah,
you were very businesslike, man. I mean, you really. I mean, it was like I'll give Chris Lawson credit because he never got emotional on the negative side. I lived on that. I lived there. Totally lived there a little bit.
Yes.
But Chris would get emotional on the positive side. Man, Nick, you were all business all the time, and I'm telling you, it worked. I mean, now so you say you were in your own head. All I saw was confidence. I mean, that's how a guy walks to the field when he knows he's got a pretty good game plan. And that's what I saw.
I appreciate that. That's a compliment, I guess.
True story.
And now looking back, it's been some time, obviously, and the memory's gray a little bit, and the good things stand out a little more, and the negative. It's like I kind of wish I did enjoy it more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That you're just so focused on getting the job done the right way that you kind of miss some of those moments.
Yeah. I think that makes total sense. Yeah.
I think the thing that
go ahead, Dom.
You guys had a thing. You had a thing, man. I mean, Dom, you got to talk about it because you spent more time with Nick than any of us.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, there was two things, right? We were both super competitive, right? We talked quite a bit throughout the week. Nick was really great about kind of just letting me come to him with ideas and, try things. And he always would want to try stuff, and he'd had, crazy ideas that he would want to try. And there was really nothing that we wouldn't try. But we seemed to always be really locked in, I think, going back to the 2006 season, as far as like just being on the same page with what situation we were in, what play we wanted to go to. And it was kind of just uncanny from that standpoint that I would know what he was thinking. He got really good at kind of seeing the game through my lens and knowing my strengths and all of my weaknesses. He was able to call games based off of that. And, we always had personnel that we would swap in and out. And I always thought this was pretty unique, especially at that level, where he would put in certain packages, plays, blocking schemes, things like that fit to certain personnel that maybe wouldn't be on the field at all the time, and be in the middle of the game, and he'd call one of these crazy packages, and I'd be looking over at the sideline because most of the stuff we called was on the risk coach, and he'd call it, and I'd look over there, and I'd be like, "Is he serious right now? Is he really calling this play?" And then we'd run the play, and we'd score. And it's like, okay, well, that's why he called it. Yeah. So the midget eye. That really was on the play sheet in 2006. Midget eye was on the risk coach. But yeah, no, I mean, it was just a good marriage, I think, between him and I. And, he definitely let me delegate the, I guess, talks with the receivers and kind of take the stray bullets that I would catch from there. He would never get involved in that. He'd throw me under the bus, I think, on those. But he'd be like, "Oh no, Tony, you're supposed to come to you on that play, man. I don't know why he threw it to you."
It wasn't my fault. You fucked the play up, man. You got to own it. Right. I called the right play.
Right. So, generally speaking, that's what it was. But yeah,
we talked about that too, though, with you a little bit, Nick, when we were talking to Chris. Like, you seem to always kind of have the right thing dialed up. Was that just your genius as a coach a little bit, or was it just kind of you just knowing the game and feeling the flow, like you just knew, like, oh, this is the time now? Is that just you as a coach?
Yeah, I mean, it's you put people to sleep, right? If you called plays at any point successfully, you just lull them to sleep with the basics, and then they'll start showing their hand how they're attacking. It's like, okay, they're bringing this in and this edge over here, we're going to replace him with the receiver by himself, and then you do it, and then you get a big play out of it.
Right.
You just got to pay attention to what they're. And typically, especially at the 8-man level, the semi-pro level, there's not a lot of complexity because there's no time.
Yeah.
So if you watch a couple of games of film on somebody, you kind of know what they're going to do. You can predict it. especially back in those days when so many teams were so heavy in the run, and they'd run 2 tight ends or an eye back, or, you put 4 receivers out there, they had to come out of their defense and they had to go basic.
Yeah.
Right.
So
there's one guy that's out of his league, right? I mean, there's one guy who's not going to.
You're going to get one mismatch somewhere. Exactly.
Yeah.
The same holds true right now, but it's harder to find that mismatch because there's so many athletes involved and they're trained to run in space now.
Yeah.
So it plays a little bit differently there.
Right.
I want to go back to a point that was made earlier. Part of this quarterback relationship is you have to empower them, and Dom kind of hit on that. They've got to own the offense. They've got to make it a part of themselves. They input into it. You call the play they want. Sometimes even if it's a dumbass play. I really want to do this. Okay, Dom, go get him.
All right. Play. We got one for 2nd and 15. We'll go ahead.
That's okay. They on the 15-yard line, right? Back in the day.
Yeah.
By the way, as an offensive coach, I hated that. I hate this new kickoff thing that came in 2009 or whenever it was. That was great because you can start at 1st and 4. Fantastic.
Yeah.
It gave me a whole new playbook. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, and they got to have that relationship with their receivers and their linemen where, hey, linemen, I need you guys. I'm dependent on you. They've got to build that relationship. And receivers, they got to hold them accountable. You dropped the ball, you didn't run the right route. Whatever it is, but that relationship's got to be there with the players.
1st and 4 was a nice luxury sometimes in the AFL. Now that you think back about it, without the chains, hey, chuck it deep 3 times and hand it to George, and you're in pretty good freaking shape.
Not the worst game plan, right?
No.
And I think about my years coaching high school and calling plays. And Tony, what do you do, Tony? What is your responsibility
right now?
Yeah,
I'm the head coach. I call the offense.
Okay, so you're calling the offense. You have a list of plays for 1st and 10, 2nd and medium, 2nd and long. Well, in the 8-man game, you got to have a playbook, a set of calls for 1st and short.
Right.
1st and medium. You know what I mean? And that just is an advantage.
Right.
Like you said, check it a few times, hand it off. In all those years, I was trying to tell our kick returners, if you're going to get tackled, don't cross the line and get the 1st down.
Right.
I'm 6 inches short. You just bought me 4 more downs, and they never got it. People are competitors. They want to get as much as they. They're not thinking like we are. So.
No, they see green. They're going for green. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't. When did the kickoff start? I think it must have been after I was gone because I would have been.
It was 07. It was 2007 was the first year.
Yeah. So I guess I did play with it. I don't remember.
I can't.
You weren't out there, Dom, for sure. So you may not remember.
I was never on the kickoff team. That's for damn sure.
You're no Drew Fendrick, okay?
Yeah, no.
Jeez.
Nope.
He's still playing. I saw some pictures. He's still suiting up and playing.
Yes.
He's a nut. So good for him.
Yeah, he's playing for me. I'm still coaching. I came back to it this year.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's fantastic.
Phase of life where you're getting older, things happen. It's like I took a couple years off. It's like I might want to go back and do it once or twice more before I hang it up. Being a dad and all that stuff. So Drew's playing for me now. He's going to take snap Sunday for me. I like Drew.
That's awesome.
Wait, what? I didn't even know about this. What team is it?
Midwest Hawks. It's a Peoria team.
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah.
About 10 years ago, I got so tired of like the team stuff, running the team stuff. So I'm like, I'll coach for anybody if they do all the work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's fair deal.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Drew still got it though. He's slinging it. We had our last game, and all of a sudden, 4th quarter, he starts pulling the handoffs and running off the edge. Yeah, he probably rushing. And he's 38 years old or whatever he is now.
Yeah, he started doing that with us because he came and played with us a little bit, played some receiver, and then started playing quarterback. And his knowledge of the game he's very similar to Dom, where like he knew the game, he knew the right time to tuck it and run, he knew the right time to he could hold on to the ball at the very last second. So it was fun. It was fun playing with Drew my last couple of years for sure. He's a competitor. There's no doubt.
I mean, that's crazy, man. For context on that, honestly, my last year I was 38, and I mean, we all know, like, listen, that was the right time to move out. But a guy playing quarterback at that age, I mean, listen, you've seen the
Brent,
4th quarter stance picture. I mean,
Brent, you were playing at 38. Your body retired at 35. So you were.
It's a good thing we had. Thank God. Actually, I probably owe you guys something for starting the Stallions. There were now 6 offensive line positions to be had in Springfield. Thank God.
Oh man!
But I mean, to play quarterback, you got to be kidding me. Wow.
But have you ever seen Drew in person?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's machine. Like he's
Ivan
probably the
Drago.
strongest. Yeah, he's an absolute maniac. We'll get him on here sometime, Brent. But he's a monster.
Yeah, he's
So
one of those.
There's
one of
probably
those
no question.
He's just one of those people that defy the whole train get better. There's just people like that. Like I brought up Sean Bell. Drew is the quarterback. Sean Bell. He'll do it forever.
Sure.
It's amazing.
And one of the things I enjoy about working with Drew is he's like dominant in the fact that they love taking shots, but they're not stupid risks. You know what I mean? They're just not chucking it near for something. Yeah, they're calculated risks, but they're still risks. They're so confident in the ball that they can thread through there that they'll do it. They'll take that shot, and a lot of times it works out. It makes you look good.
Yeah.
Carlos Perry's not still playing, is he?
Who?
Is Carlos still playing?
Interestingly enough, Carlos' son is on a team right now.
Wow. Okay.
Carlos Jr.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now it's there we go. Full circle. The circle of life is complete.
That just aged me quite a bit too.
It's his rookie year, so he still can't catch, just like Dad.
Yeah.
But he can run out.
He won't be good for another decade.
He's still got the frying pans. Yeah. Gotta grow out of that.
So he's a project.
One of the things we always ask is kind of how you got started with the team, and I actually don't know that I know how you got started with the Stallions in 06 and how that all came about. I'm assuming it was through Neil Taylor, but I don't actually know.
So they were starting the Stallions, and this was the Herb Fullerton production.
That's right.
So you know how things are with that. Sometimes it's a little wild card. Neil reached out to me because at the time I think I was coaching with Jeff Thomas. He was head coach at Southeast. And Neil was at Griffin. I think they just won their first state championship, or were just getting ready to. And so Neil's like, "Hey, come and coach receivers with us." Neil actually, who's a defensive minded guy, was going to be the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And then Mark Grounds, who's the head coach at Jacksonville, offensive coordinator, was going to run the defense for the Stallions. Yep. So I thought, hell, this is going to be a great time to learn a lot of different stuff from really good coaches. Yeah. And plus there's appeal to playing in the convention center, right? And coaching there and being a part of that. So I go over there and they're having a tryout. You guys are having a tryout at the Gold's Gym. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
You go try out in Gold's Gym, and Herb's going to run the offense because Neil at the last minute changed his mind. So Herb's got this playbook, and he decides that he's not going to run any of the drills on offense for some reason. He's just going to kind of walk around and check shit out. So I'm like, well, give it to me. I'll walk through it. It's like, I don't even know what these plays are. You know what I mean? So, and from there, it just kind of stayed in my hands. I obviously must have shown that I was competent, and had the ability to make relationships with players or whatever. So it just kind of stayed in my hands. And I did make some changes to it. I did add a couple of things and subtract a couple of things. Do you know that half that playbook was read option, triple, and zone option with Dom at that time?
Oh boy!
Oh my
Thank God.
He wrecked his body anyway. We'd be talking to him with a feeding tube today,
especially on that convention center turf.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
surprised you got skin left.
Right. I remember the playbook changes coming fast and furious, and I remember one of the first plays that we brought in was that Oaks play. And that play was a killer. We used to crush on that, and so
we're running it Sunday. It never went anywhere.
I figured three F1 smoke and Oaks. Those were
F1 still in there too. We don't run smoke.
Yeah, well there you go.
Classic.
That's funny.
That's how I got started though, and then things developed from there, and the whole convention center thing, and it was just a lot of fun, and going to the championship and not winning it was a major factor. Right. If we had won it, I might have just been done then and there because the team was done. It was going on. You guys see my daughter coming in here trying to
say,
oh, hello.
All right, yeah, she's 9. She's in 4th grade. All right.
Oh boy.
So, but yeah, not winning that championship. It's like, man, I'm really hungry. It's incomplete business or whatever you say,
Unfinished,
right. Unfinished business, right.
Unfinished business. There you go. And that kind of, interestingly, they went to the pro level, and I was in conversations with I believe it was Brian Taylor was kind of starting that, and they're like, "Well, we're going to join this pro league, and we'd like you to come and coach." Like, cool, tell me about it. It's like we're going to go Ohio, Michigan, etc. And I said, "Well, what about money?" Well, it's not paid the first year. It's like I can't travel clear across the country for nothing. I just started my family. I had a 2-year-old son. So I had to pass on that, and it probably wouldn't have worked out the way we talked about anyways, just because of the way things went.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Go ahead, Tony.
No, I was gonna say, Nick, do you remember? You might be the only one other than me and you that remembers this. You coached. You were an interim coach for the Outlaws for a game that 2007 season.
I want it noted that I'm the third winningest coach in Outlaw history.
You are. I remember you came out. We played Metamora. Chris and Tommy must have both had drill or something. And all I remember is, yeah, Dan and I were so pumped because like Dan was like, I'm gonna throw the ball. This is going to be awesome. And we get to the Metamora in that park, and it was like 35-mile-an-hour winds.
Oh, no.
And we couldn't throw the ball at all. It was
pulled out
terrible.
the Fullerton playbook, came back out.
Yeah, it was.
An old one.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. And they were gone. They said, hey, we just need somebody to sit in. You don't have to do anything. Just kind of be the guy on the sideline. And if you want to call plays, talk to Dan. He'll let you call some plays. And it really worked out. And I remember in that game, I don't know if the final was like 26-20 or 22.
It was like one score. It was closer than it should have been. Yeah.
I just remember I got really pissed off. Probably more than Dom ever saw me get pissed off. I got pissed off at Nate Bottom of all people. I coached Nate in high school. So I'd known Nate for years and years. And he was running the ball, but he would kind of hit the line and kind of just pump his feet a little bit and kind of push it forward and fall down. I was like, Nate, you got to stop running like a whatever word I said at that moment,
Right.
You got your daughter there.
There's no hole. You're going to create a hole. And so, just kind of chewed his butt. And in the fourth quarter, he starts grinding. We start wearing him out a little bit and end up driving down the field down their throat and winning. It was fun. Good experience.
Yeah. No, I remember that because we were excited to have you out there. And I know I'm sure you probably felt awkward or not, I don't want to say timid because timid's not a word that I would associate with you. But, it was guys there were a lot of guys that you really didn't know because we had a pretty newish team at that point. For us, so it was. I remember that you coming out there and helping us out though. It was a good win.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And that's part of what got lost in this rivalry. You guys kind of knew each other, so you had some closeness there. But like you mentioned in one of the shows about Tony Carey meeting Dan, I believe. It's like you're not the guy that I had heard about.
Right.
I think that there's a lot of good guys on both teams, and we kind of missed that opportunity to build those relationships and enjoy each other's company outside of the football field. I had fun, and I'd never had an issue with anybody on a personal level. I did get into the rivalry a little bit, just like anybody else would. We put some words back and forth, in the AFL forum. Which, wrong with you guys? Get that sucker out. That's fun.
Oh God, we're trying so hard. You have no idea. Like Dom and I are. I mean, we're trying to crowdfund this shit. Man, we want it so bad.
But when you guys get it out, though, I want Dom to come up and he's got to sit and read it with Stolars side by side.
Stolars. Oh my God. That's a name I haven't heard in 15 years. That guy was a clown. Oh my God. And then when we played him that year too, I was all over him that game because they kept putting him in coverage on Carlos.
Yeah, they
did. We just ate his lunch the whole game and he wouldn't even look at us. Oh God, I forgot about that.
I did love the trash. I did love the keyboard warriors.
Yeah.
I mean,
the
thing was, I mean, Dom's a smart guy, and like I said, we got into it. Might have been an alias or two that we had out there, but he can back it up on the field. I have to a degree, but before it was over, when it was in its infancy, I could back it up on the field. I love the guys who couldn't back it up online or on the field because you could beat them twice every week. It was so much fun.
Right, exactly. And they just always kind of hung out there on those teams that's like, your team's barely hanging on, man. Stop.
Bro, I mean,
Your guys you have your defensive line's wearing jorts. Like, come on, guys, let's figure this out.
I swear, please, not online. You do not want this smoke online either. I swear, just do not.
It was a lot of fun. I remember that Mike Harris got into a Cheney one of many times, I think. And he declared him something like the message board gangster of the year. And he offered to make him mouse pads with the award on it and send him out to Quincy. It's like, Mike, that's hilarious. Just
send them. Hang up. I was wearing my mouse pad out on the AFL forum. Send them.
That's funny. The Quincy battles were pretty furious there for a while. I think it may have even boiled over more than anything ever happened with CCO. I think I hated Quincy. I can't even.
I don't know.
I hated
it. It wasn't good, but it was so personal with CCO though.
Yeah, and I will say
I did on both sides. You know what I mean? Like a personal issue.
You were right though. Like it never, other than take out the convention center game there, and we talked about this a bunch of times just from Dom being obviously Dom playing on that side, me playing on that side, and Brent playing on both. Outside of the convention center game, those were hard games. We fought to the end, but after it was over. Like we shook hands and it was done. It never got to that point again where and I think a lot of that was
the lead up.
Well, right. It was who was involved. There was, the one guy involved was not involved anymore after the convention center game, and it mellowed. I mean, that's the easiest way to put it. Is it
well,
just
once it's over, it's over.
It mellowed, but
the lead up was big. I mean, I love Dom Salvo. I've always loved Dom Salvo. I mean, we are friends. We have been friends every time we ever run into each other. But 3 weeks leading up to that game, the shit I would say about him online and the shit he would say about me. I mean, that's the truth, man. I mean, it just transcended
enough too. Don't give him a pass.
I mean, no. Dude, oh my God, dude. When we get that forum, it'll Dom and I will both have to come to terms with a lot.
It'll be embarrassing. Like some of the things I'm sure I said were just terrible.
Well, the good thing about it was that it was actually private. Right. So it didn't really leave there unless somebody pulled it out and put it out in public, So, and that convention center game, Brent, I'm not sure why you aren't telling these guys the whole story. This water bottle thing, it was late in the game. We were out of water and I shouted over there as Brent was walking, "Hey, Brent, I need some water. Throw me a bottle." I mean, and he just couldn't do it.
Make it.
Thank you. Now I have finally got paid for that year. So thank you for that. So I was gonna ask Tony, that one game that Nick ever coached for you guys, did you guys make him sign anything before he even set foot on the field?
No, God, no.
That year wouldn't have been a problem. I was a free agent.
I showed up in South. Well, number one, Nick, I will say this. I appreciate you said, well, we got all these characters. They were so hard to manage. You still signed me. So thank you. Because that, let's gasoline on that fire. But I'm not, Dom, you saw it. We talked about it earlier. I went into that Southeast gym, started putting my stuff on and getting ready to go. And I see Nick walk in and I'm getting ready to go say, "Oh man, hey, how's it going?" I mean, I've known him since 2001. Yeah. And he walks towards me, he grabs a piece of paper and he says, "Hey man, we're gonna need you to sign this." You're talking about the all business guy. That was him, man.
had the clipboard in this hand, had my hand on your back on the other in case you said it.
Here's the pen. You got to sign this just in case. I mean, and hey, once I did, we were, and again,
it was fun. We had a great time. I enjoyed you being around.
I enjoyed that year a lot.
He interrogated me before that too, because I remember you and I had talked about you coming over, and I told him you were interested, and he was kind of like, "Really? Is this a joke? Are you serious?" I'm like, "No, I'm serious."
You've officially vouched for me, and the shit that the AFL forum will drag into this is, dude. Let's keep it private. Keep it private.
What year was that? I don't even I remember you playing. I don't even remember what year that was, Brent.
2008.
2008. Yeah.
Was it 8? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you came back. You came back and played for us after that. Yeah.
The next year.
Was that? Were you? All right. Forgive my ignorance. You left because Chris was gone. Part of it.
And you know what? It's funny, Dom. You talk about that game, Edgar, and the whole ejection.
Yeah.
I was filming for the Outlaws that game. I was in the back of a truck. That was at Southeast, right? I mean, that was that no?
No, that was at Four Seasons.
Okay, all right. So I shot it out anyway. I was shooting film for the Outlaws. Some stuff happened where, through whatever vines that got back to me, some people were glad I was gone, and that
that was me.
100%. So, but I mean, and then I watched our right tackle at the time, and I said, that's fine. Let's let him eat that. And I don't know, something was said, and I reached out, and it is
open arms.
I said I was done. I wasn't done.
No, yeah, I mean, again,
it wasn't Tony. It wasn't really you. It really wasn't.
Oh, Brent, I would tell you to your face I thought you were dog shit. If you missed a block, I would yell right at you. You know that, and you would tell you do the same for me. So I would expect nothing less.
Yeah. It was
no, I couldn't remember the whole story, and for some reason I was looking at those pictures that Dom was sending today in that message, and I couldn't remember I just couldn't remember the timeline of it.
All that solidified for me was that I was the last person to ever get a win in that rivalry, ever. wherever I was until it was post Dom. I don't know if I ever got Dom other than time Troy Helton split his leg open. I don't know that I ever did because it was Coster that last final year I walked away on that Southeast, and that was one of the greatest games that has ever been played with eight people on each side. It was amazing. And the year before was almost as amazing. I mean, well, to me, it was probably as amazing, but God dang, man. I never won that game for 6 years.
Say it again, Brent.
I didn't win that game for like 6 years until that game because I just went the other way. It was crazy. Yeah.
You got the highlights on YouTube somewhere of the last 3 minutes of that game.
That was
there's you can find that on you. I'll post that. I'll post it tomorrow. But yeah, it was just like touchdown, and then that was it. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Had that ever been on a broadcast quality camera, it would have 3 million views. No doubt about it. And because there was no missed anything, there was no nobody got anything by mistake. No matter if it was played on a high school field that had been marked off. It was everybody busting their ass. I'm telling you, that was amazing.
I will say, and Nick, you can back me up on this. We as the Outlaws got lucky because I think it was Carlos. Carlos dropped a touchdown, like a wide open, because you can't see it on the film, but you can. I remember it. Coster sits back there and throws a long bomb, and you see all their sideline, all the Seminoles put their hands up in the air, and he dropped it somehow. But that game could have ended very differently.
Oh, good. I mean, that's why those games were fun.
Yeah.
I think it was Dan who said, man, he hated building up to those CCO, SCS games. Like, no, I love that.
Yeah.
That's those are the ones I love. I don't know if you guys realize this, but I did the math back then at some point, 2012 or something, because I was kind of pissed off at the league because they kept scheduling us together to play each other a bunch of times and Quincy. It's like, guys, 50 of my games have been against CCO and Quincy. And of course, we were the three for about 4 years. So it's like, you're letting these other guys get a pass and beating up on each other, and we have to kill each other out here.
We talked about that a lot. There was a time where those North teams got a pass. I mean, they've come into their own. It is what it is.
Yep.
But there was a time when you looked at that, Quincy, CCO, SCS, and it was like, holy shit, what are the other guys doing? What are they doing this weekend?
Evansville's playing Shelbyville or
right.
Yeah, right. Well, but that was because remember the league started in Peoria, so like they wanted they wanted nothing more than a Peoria team to win that championship every single year, and it drove them nuts when they didn't. When it was
Ralph.
Us and
Ralph Gillespie.
Yeah, Ralph. Yeah,
always put it together, just couldn't get it done, man.
Nope. Because they always ran into us or you guys. It was always they they maybe win a game and then they'd have to play the Seminoles and they'd lose, or they'd have to play us and lose. And then Quincy started to be really good and they'd have to play Quincy and lose. So it just they could never put it together, like you said, Nick. They could never put it together when it counted most. But
they got close, a couple times. But
the first game the Outlaws, first game we ever played against the Renegades was on an empty lot between an Aldi and the projects.
Yeah, behind the Aldi.
So hey, somebody got to win 3 championships before that ever happened. So it kind of sucked when it was a different league. And I thought it was cool because you're right. Macomb started bringing people. Bushnell started bringing people. The Stallions show up first year, freaking unbelievable, and it became something that was big. It really did. And some other teams kind of came into it thinking it might still be the old league, and they found out pretty quick.
Oh yeah.
That was part of the problem, I think, too, is I was always proud of the fact that with our 2 teams here in town, both being very successful, that guys didn't jump ship back and forth. We might have had 2 or 3 guys that played for both. Well, I know you did. I think Schranz did.
No, Schranz never played. There was a year. In 2012. What's that?
I thought Schranz played with you guys and then came to us, or I can't remember.
I think that
he was going to play with us, but he had hurt his shoulder and he never did.
Okay.
So he might have been on the roster.
After the original split, you guys picked off AJ Johnson, which that hurt a lot, and there were a few. But I mean, the original split was what it was. But you're right. Outside of, there
were like Carlos Perry came back and played a year with us. Danny
Chris.
Norman played a year with us. Marcus Daugherty played a year with us. Like there was a couple sporadic.
Yeah. Danny Norman.
Yeah.
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 Nick, were you-
Well, they
Go ahead.
And
No.
up there, even at the time up there, they'd go to Mid-State or Pekin, and then 2 or 3 of them would go over to Tazewell. It's like you can't build a team that way.
Oh yeah.
When you're shifting so much. But nowadays, what's happened is the LeBron culture's come in, and guys are jumping ship to join the team that's winning.
Mhm.
Right.
That's what they'll do it now.
I mean, it was kind of that way back then, but
But the Peoria teams for sure. Yeah.
The Stallions were the new one. You guys instilled something that they were about. I mean, honestly, it was like that back then, guys. Hey, everybody loves a winner. That's why when Chris and Tommy weren't involved, the old Bucks went from 10-2 to 0-9 immediately. But first year dedication, success, and loyalty. The Stallions did it immediately. The Outlaws kind of rebranded and got good or even great. But you guys first year were great, and the guys stuck with it. That's a big deal.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And I don't know which guys split off. I know that was kind of a big deal. I came in after that fact. And I do remember the commercial that Herb was trying to film in the snow.
Yeah. Oh
With the-
yeah. I forgot all about
The
that.
Outlaw jersey. And
Yeah.
it pissed Chris off because Herb still had the Outlaw jersey, and he put some little kid in it, and one of our guys tackled him into the snow and
Oh boy.
try to make it look bad. It was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Herb wore that.
Fullerton
Herb
production.
wore that a little.
The one thing I'll say about Herb, he was always good to me, right? I probably caught a lot of shit that I didn't know that I was coming into, but man, that 06 season, I rode him like a dog leading up to that season, about getting games on, just everything, the jerseys, the games on TV, the convention center. I remember I was living with Brent at the time, and we were meeting with the convention center. Brent's like, "There's no way you guys are going to play in there." And he's like, "I don't even think they have the turf anymore. I'm pretty sure they don't have the turf." And I remember we're going to the meeting, and I pulled out my old Sprint phone. I don't know if you remember this, and I sent you the picture of the turf, and you're like, "I can't. It looks like turf, but I can't really tell because the picture was so."
And then I said what? Then I said I'd never play on it.
Yeah.
Wrong again.
Yeah. And but Herb really, I mean, if you think about that 06 season, I mean, we had great jerseys. He got all the games on TV.
Hey, those jerseys, those jerseys were sharp because those were like stitched and you got that one, Dom?
Yeah, I still have it. I need to get it framed. It's in my closet. Yeah,
that's a good one, man.
They were great.
Hey, listen, Herb shot for the star. I mean, if anybody ever believed in semi-pro football,
he did.
Other than Chris Lawson, it was Herb Fullerton.
Yeah.
He shot for the Stars, and I'll tell you what, he got 70% of the way there. He really did. It was a better production then than it was after he was gone. I mean, and that's the same with you, Nick. I mean, there were people who cared about it in Springfield and were good coaches. There were people who cared about it in Springfield and who were good players. But, Herb was the one who had the vision that, we're playing in a convention center. We could be an AFL 2 team. It didn't come to fruition, but he laid Herb went and got people, laid the foundation. I said it last weekend. I'll give him respect for that. I really will, if nothing else.
I still, if I allow myself to, I still get chills if you hear that national anthem, you close your eyes and you picture the stadium's dark and the spotlight's on the players there in the back, and if you can put yourself there, it still gives me chills though.
Yeah.
That was such a cool experience.
It was a blast.
Nick, I mean, even our butt kicking we got there was fun. Just to be in there and play. It was, and again, I'm sure most of our anger was jealousy too, just because we thought we could be cool and do that. But
it's a good testament to you, Nick, because at one point we were up 7-6 in that game, and then it got shut down. I mean, really, you guys got to the point where you were doing what you wanted, and we weren't able to do what we wanted. I mean, it was a great, like you said. I think some of us come from the semi-pro world of the 90s where you traveled 100 miles and no matter what you found out, you only knew this. So, what the AFL did was allowed you to do a little scouting, do a little recon and figure out and make adjustments. And you made some great ones that game. There's no doubt.
There was a big one in that game. I don't know if he'll remember this, but that was the first game that we played that year without George. George
I was just going to mention that. Yeah,
and
you guys beat us without George. Now I'm pissed off.
Yeah, he called up.
Mighty Mouse was a hell of a player. Now, come on.
Jesus
well,
Christ.
he had found. I don't remember what the play call specifics were, but he had found something on film with your guys' defense where if a certain look, the running back could release and go like on a wheel route and go uncovered. Yeah. And so we called the play, and I remember before the play, in Montreal will attest to this. He still, every time I see him, he talks about this. I mean, it's hilarious, but he's like, before the play, I told him it was coming. And I was like, you're going to catch this. I know you're going to catch this because I expect you to catch this. And I was just I was like, we need you, firing him up, and he caught it. And, but the play, I've scrambled to right, and it just opened up just exactly like Nick had said, and hit Montreal in the back of the end zone, and he got hit after he caught it. And the funniest thing was, games were on TV, and I remember watching the broadcast, and you could hear him going like this, waving his arms, and the noise he was making, it sounded like a pigeon dying. He's like, screaming and stuff. But I mean, that was just a testament to the scouting and the play call and all that, because we'd never ran that.
Exactly what it was. You guys would go cover zero in certain situations. You'd go 3-2 cover zero, and you'd always put your better player on Tony Carey in those kinds of scenarios. So I put Tony on the right with the Twins, and I had another receiver on the left. And then what that did is that put a linebacker on a running back, man to man. And so he would swing out, so your linebacker would be going lateral. Well, when he broke up field, your linebacker's kind of in a bad position. And so he just got behind him. It wasn't real complicated. It was a risk because it was probably a short situation, 3rd and short, something like that.
So, that's a great example of high school ball translating to NFL ball. In the pros, you're never going to get away with that. That running back's almost as fast as that wide receiver. I mean, but the running backs in our league 10 years ago, 12 years ago, were not as fast as even Montreal. The fact that we got beat now when you didn't have George and that you used Tony Carey as a decoy is going to bother me all night long. It's going to kill me.
I remember it comes up, man, we're going to have to sit down somewhere at a bar and just kill a keg watching that thing.
Yeah.
Yes. I remember George getting deployed because we'd sent Marcus Cox. We knew that Buddy was refereeing, and we knew that Buddy loved Chris. And this was the stuff that Chris could do really well. Like we talked about you, Pickett, like being able to kind of have the play right and know when to call it. Chris could do this kind of stuff well. He sent Marcus Cox up early in his Army shirt, his United States Army shirt with his sleeves cut off, looking like George Wilson, a little, a sickly George Wilson. And so he went up there and Buddy, Buddy was getting older, didn't know, maybe thought it was George or something, thought that would get us a call here or there. And it didn't work at all. But yeah, I remember him because George got deployed like, was it the week before? Was it like that week?
It would have been
it was that week. Yeah, because we played that blue Chicago Thunder team or whatever that came down. That was his last game. And we smacked them, and then I think we had a bye, and then that was the game. And
we did the fake Razor Ramon. I mean, wrestling again, the fake Razor Ramon trick. We tried to pull that off in the convention center.
Wrestling and semi-pro kind of go hand in hand, right?
They do.
Yeah.
There's a little bit too amazing,
One thing I got to ask about. Okay, you go ahead. You had something else to say.
I was just going to say about George Wilson that a sickly George Wilson is probably an apt description, because George Wilson still to this day is just built like a brick shit house. Man, the guy went as the Incredible Hulk for Halloween.
Oh, I know.
All he did was put green paint on him. Yeah. He didn't even wear a shirt or anything. Kidding me?
No,
I remember. Unreal.
He's a freak.
Yeah. He was like the Alonzo Spellman of running backs. You remember his arms versus his legs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he was built different. The dude was built different.
No, he could. George could scratch his ankles and not have to even bend down.
Yeah. Like if he were 4 inches taller, he would have played in the NFL as a defensive end.
Yeah, I mean, he was an absolute. We got to get George on sometime.
You should.
Yeah, his wingspan had to be a foot bigger than his height. He was amazing. He really was. And a great guy. Really was a great guy.
Tony Carey would always joke about at halftime, he would drink some weird drink in that 060s, and we'd be in the locker room, underneath in the arena, and George would drink something. Nobody really knew what it was, but I remember Tony Carey grabbing it from him one time and taking a drink and then pausing and kind of looking. He's like, when do the muscles kick in, George? What's going on? I'm waiting to rip out. And, so we all had a good laugh at that. But
that gives me a little side story too. Same situation. It was 08. It's our first year Seminoles. We're playing CCO at Four Seasons. You were the home team. We were in the infield as our sideline. If you remember, it was the dirt, so it was muddy and stuff. I swear you guys watered that before that game.
Good choice. That was a good choice.
Yeah. And so Brian Hodges played defensive line. He might have played with CCO for a bit.
He did
that.
early,
Bucks
early,
back in the day for sure.
He scored a touchdown in that game on a fumbled snap or something real close to your end zone. He just dove on the ball and scored. So anyways, at some point in that game, I'm like, hey, he's got this big jug, football shaped jug, you know. It's like, give me a drink. I'm thirsty. He's like, yeah, here you go.
Yeah.
I know where this is going.
It's fucking E&J.
Yeah.
Easy.
Third quarter, he's drinking
With no cut, no cut, nothing.
No, and he just thought it was the funniest thing ever to see my reactions. Like, man, you know, you want to be a serious coach in those situations.
That tracks.
Yeah,
that was the year before I came over. I think, right? I mean, that was
the year you came over.
Yeah, you came over later. That
okay, well, that's
season,
probably what put him in a good enough mood to finally tell me that it was bullshit that he cracked me like he did at the convention center, because we were on the sideline. And I'm telling you, he had some big hand before the whole Stanleys were cool. He had a jug in his hand.
Yeah.
And,
Big Bubba.
And he came up and he just kind of spanked me. Said, "Man, I'm telling you, I know that was bullshit." So he scored a touchdown. It was good on E&J, and finally felt good enough to tell me that.
I gotta ask a question for you, Nick, because I don't know the answer to this, but what did you guys do in 2009, like when you would practice during the week and I wasn't there? Because I mean, I was at that one practice in December and then I didn't come the rest of the practice. So like, were you playing quarterback or what?
No, that previous season, I'm gonna have to think about this, and I might have to come back and give you an answer later on that. But the previous season, you had mentioned before how you got thrown out of the game.
Tony, brother.
Tony came in, and he's just a kid. He's 18, you know. And so he gets in. He's just kind of struggling a little bit under the pressure. But guys, we went 2 tights and 2 backs. You ever see me go 2 tights and 2 backs?
Yeah.
I'm not okay with that.
Weren't you just talking shit about that 45 minutes ago?
Yeah. I mean, we're just running the ball and running the clock out and trying to make it. So Tony has to play the next game because Dom got ejected, can't keep his hands to himself. So he played against Tazewell and they beat us, actually. They weren't as good, but it was a 20-14 game. You know, if Dom plays, we were in a lot better shape. But at that point, I was like, I can no longer have one quarterback and not a second. Because that year before we played you guys and Dom got hurt, we put Chris Jones in there. I don't know if you remember that. And Chris really had a hard time too. You know, he just wasn't ready for prime time yet, you know. But so I'll have to think about that, Dom, because there's no way I went into that season in 09.
I think it was Wade Stubbs. Wasn't it Wade?
It might have been Wade, who ended up playing quarterback for a couple seasons and was really solid.
Wade was a pretty good quarterback.
He was a good athlete.
He played Lanphier. Wide receiver at Lanphier. Yeah. He was pretty, prolific there as far as back in those days. So good athlete, good kid.
Yeah,
I think that's who it was.
Chris Jones wasn't ready. Chris Jones wasn't ready for the spotlight. We got to watch names. He wasn't ready for the spotlight in 2004 when he played for the Outlaws either. Nick, he lost a game for us.
I mean,
we put him in late against Effingham, and he fumbled about 4 snaps, and they recovered one for a touchdown. That was it.
Well,
in overtime.
I mean, again, in practice, he could throw a dart. I mean, I got no problem with J-Ball. I don't know if we'd even snapped him that much. We just watched him throw. Yeah. You know, it was like a Dom Salvo, Jamie Ford exhibition at halftime for
he was the skinniest person I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
He was thin.
He talked a lot too. He talked a lot. He thought for sure he was going to win that competition for the Stallions job and was really mad when he didn't. And I don't know that it was really that close.
Well, that's an interesting story too. I mean, it was Dan and Dom, in the preseason there. And I don't know anybody, right? I know some of the guys from Southeast who played when I was playing, but I don't know them real well. I knew George because I played with George in high school. And so I told Herb, I'm like, hey, man, I'm just going to chart it out. We're just going to do numbers plus minus 0. We're going to put it on paper. And whoever gets the highest score, I'm just going to tell you that guy got the highest score. Because Herb was going to take the shit, not me. Because fingers would have been pointed at Herb the whole time. So Dom scored out, I'm going to make up the numbers, but he scored out at like a 97.5 and Dan was at 96.8 or something. It was less than a point of difference or right at a point. But Dom scored better in the 20 even plays we gave him all, or 30 even plays we gave him all. So Dan, wants to play football, so he goes and plays football for CCO that year, which obviously the right choice for everybody, right?
Right.
And then so now we have nobody. Chris comes in and we get him in there. He quits after that CCO game, if I'm not mistaken. So we didn't have a
Yeah.
So Alan Harris, who was my quarterback coach and my cousin, he decides to start taking snaps.
Yep.
And he won 3 games. He beat Macomb.
Yeah.
In that his first game. So we got fortunate on that one. He just happened to be sitting there, knew the offense. He was good enough talent to get it done. So semi-pro, man. You don't know what's
that's semi-pro.
I know, right?
Semi-pro. Somebody's got
lefty.
to bring your football to every game. I'm telling
Yeah.
you, bring your foot. You're gonna sit in the stands. Bring your football to every game.
Never know.
Yeah.
Are we getting to the end here, Tony? Where we at?
We're right now. We're at our usual
Okay.
spot. So
All right, Nick, I gotta ask you a personal question.
Oh shit! Here we go.
So here's the deal, man.
Jeez.
That first game
fits.
it does still fit.
That's awesome.
the first game I came up for you guys at Quincy, and I sat and watched the first half,
Yeah.
and half of the third quarter. Dom convinced me at some point that you had just forgotten I was there.
Which happens.
All right. Well, I'm just asking you now. Were you making a point, or did you forget I was there?
Probably forgetting.
Both.
Both.
A little
So-
of both, yeah.
An interesting thing about semi-pro from a coach's perspective, right? And Chris didn't really mention this, but I'm sure it's in the back of his head sometimes when he thinks about those times. You have to balance everybody. It's not just coaching, and you call the shots and you strategize and you get your plan together and you make your guys execute it. You have to balance all of these huge egos, okay, and make them all happy. And the worst thing you can do is bring in a guy off the street and take your guy that's been there and kick him off
the fucking street. I'm kidding. I'm teasing. I'm just playing. I'm playing.
It was an alley. Fine. It was a back alley.
Yeah, that's more Brent and Allie.
I
Well,
remember.
that's a tough thing to do. Like, and since then, it's happened a number of times where you got your team set up, things rolling. This guy shows up and he's better. You just can't throw him out there over the guy that's there. You got to kind of ease it in.
Ease him in, yeah.
That guy's better.
And it's fair. I'm giving you a hard time. I think
No,
Dom was too out of breath to actually lobby for me. He finally caught his breath late in the third and was like, Nick, please. Yeah.
That's exactly honestly what happened. I remember vividly because Brad, I love Brad. I was fortunate to play behind good offensive linemen my entire, not my first year, but every year after that, I had great offensive linemen, and Brad just didn't have it that day. And we were down 3 scores at least when Brent finally came. I remember coming to the sideline after I gotten hasted, and I was like, he's done. Put Brent in. And I looked at Brent and I was like, because I was like, you're going in, Brent. And so Brent came in and we were down 3 scores and maybe 5 minutes left in the game. And we got
that tiptoe that they screwed us on, right?
Yeah, the game winner.
So I remember that. You had mentioned it before. Here's how that play actually went. And I remember on my TV that's in my living room right now, I remember watching it over and over again. I'm like, I got to get this to the league. They got to change this shit. This is so wrong. So Tony catches it and he hits the ground, okay, at like the half-yard line. He's not touched. He reaches up, stretches out over the end zone. They called him down by contact. And the kid, it was clear that he never touched him. You know, even the camera we had. But when you're the visiting team and it's a tough call for the refs.
Especially in Quincy.
Well, and again, we made them learn 3 sets of rules. You know, they're used to grabbing that whistle quick so nobody gets hurt.
That was a homework call. I don't care. That was a homework call. But
the guy was right on top of it. He's seriously.
The funny thing about that play is if you watch that play, I have like literally 7 or 8 seconds. And I can tell Brent's kind of like looking back, like, what's going on back there?
Motherfucker, throw it, please.
So I finally decide I'm going to run. And I'm going off of right off of the inside hip of Brent, and I'm going to go. We're like 5 yards out, 6. I don't know where we were. So I start to run, and then all of a sudden, I don't know what happens, but somebody shoots into that hole I was going to run at, and I was looking straight ahead. I didn't see Tony Carey. You can kind of tell on the film, but I just go like this, and I just threw it, and it just happened to literally go right to Tony Carey, and
like always,
they didn't give it to us, but man, it was a wild play. And it sucked because we were down 3. We were literally down 3 scores with like 5 minutes left, and that would have won.
So I've learned tonight that Nick never actually put me in, and that Dom did. This whole night would have gone differently had I known that at the fucking beginning, Nick.
George Wilson not being in that game. Let's add that. Been a good time. So since this is the first episode where it's kind of balanced a little bit, let's give Brent to the CCO guys since he was just traded for 1 year.
Right. Okay.
So, call it what it is. Yeah. No, don't do that.
Yeah.
No. Nobody needs to see the size C's. C cups, baby.
So what was the record between us in that little stretch of time?
Oh, 1-6 for me.
I looked this up. Let's see. In 06, we were 1-1.
Yep.
07 didn't play. 08, you guys beat us twice in the regular season, and we got you in the postseason.
Yep.
09, I think.
3.
Yeah, 09 was 1-1. Did we
What?
play in the regular season in
No,
09?
it got canceled. Yeah, we were.
Oh, that's right.
Got canceled.
Yeah.
So then
so
you got us in the
3 and
you got
4.
us in the postseason.
Yep.
2010, we only played once. We got you.
No, we played twice.
Did we? So 1-1.
You beat us. I remember this one. You beat us and broke our streak. We had a 19-game winning streak.
That was the 38-33 game.
And then we played in the playoffs. And then we beat you and made it to the championship.
Okay. And
So
then
4 and 5.
And then in like 11 and 12, we didn't lose to you guys the last couple of years. Oh no, we did. In 11, we were 1-1. And then in 12, I think we were 2-0.
12, I was out. 12, I wasn't there.
Were you not there? Okay.
That's when I went to
Okay.
Mid-State. I was ready for a new challenge.
Yeah.
So Nick is 5 and 6. The Outlaws are 7 and 6. I'm 1 and 9. And
6 and 5?
Dom probably won them all. Who knows? I don't know.
I was
4 and 2. I was 4 and 2. If we take out the Farmington year.
I've got Nick. I keep meticulous records, so I will look and I've got all the scores from the games I played in the AFL. I'll double check tonight, but I think it's either 6 and 6 or 7 and 6. Yeah, I will definitely do that.
See if you can
It
figure
was
out.
always, and I told Dom, we talked about this the first time. They were all like one score games, like very
They were all
very
great.
few.
They were great games.
Yeah, they were all really close games.
The big one that the paper wrote about, I really felt like you guys dominated it for 3 quarters after the first quarter.
Yeah.
But all of the rest of them, I thought were so close, close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I wasn't there for 2010, but that 2009 game was one of the best football games I ever was a part of, and the crowd was
good
huge.
crowd.
It was
Good
great.
energy.
I'm gonna make Dom. You got to watch the 2010, and even
Yeah.
though you weren't in it,
Yep.
it was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you guys do decide to do a little film work here and breakdown, I'd like to be on that show or a guest for a moment or two. I think that'd be kind of fun to sit in on. And
Yeah.
I've got film here on some mini DVs I'll have to look at. I know that I've got a couple of our games. I know that I have some Quincy and some Midwest Crush in there too. And I think I might have a game or two of CCO where we scouted you guys. So I'll dig those up and communicate that and see what what you might be interested in.
That'd be fantastic. Brent's got a bunch, so he's trying to get converted here too. So that's
they're on CDRs.
Yeah.
So I mean, I got to find
A little bit better than
somebody
mine. Yeah.
with some archaic technology. Yeah.
Right.
Man,
All
it was
right,
great to
man.
see you, Nick.
Yeah. I
It really
appreciate
was.
it.
Good to have you, Nick. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah. Let me know. I'm happy to do it again and keep doing the good work, guys.
Appreciate
Thank
you,
you,
man.
Coach.
Awesome.
Take care,
Appreciate you.
guys.
Good to see you guys.
See you, brother.